channel. Thank you so much for tuning in for the Wednesday night hump here every Wednesday, 11 p.m. Central European Time, straight out of Amsterdam, as always. And good to be here with you guys. Always good to be here with you. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in. Time is a valuable thing. We get paid for our time. So for you to spend a little bit of your time with me, it's always going to be greatly appreciated. Whether you do this live or in the rerun, spending the time, I do appreciate it. So thank you so much. Um, okay, welcome everybody. Let me check here and see how this looks. Yes, everything looks good. I generally, when I first started doing these live streams, I like to have the wide angle on these, but YouTube actually prefers this narrow angle because of most people streaming on phones and things of that nature. But I always find it a little bit odd when I look at it like I'm missing two-thirds of my screen. But it's all right. It's looking good. Who's here? Ben in the house. How you doing? Let me see that. I've got a couple of issues here. Because not everybody's showing up here in the chat. There we go. Scott. Hi, how you doing, Scott? Always got to say hello to you, sir, first. Ben, hey, how you doing? Michael in the house. How you doing, Mr. Watson? Yeah, it's funny, but anyway, this is the way they want it, so we'll do it this way. I spent the day today myself, guys, preparing my Thanksgiving dinner, particularly the turkey. And if you go over to my post section on this channel, you can see a picture of the turkey that just came out of the oven a couple hours back. And I learned from experience that that is something that you definitely want to do the day before so you're not dealing with it the day of. I have some friends coming over for Thanksgiving, so I have to make the whole meal, and I made my turkey today. So if you guys want to see how Mike's turkey looks for Thanksgiving, you're more than welcome to go over to my post section and take a look. Um, yeah, is that the problem? Maybe it just needs to be a little closer. Let me make an adjustment in my mic here. How about now? How does that sound, guys? Scott, how does it sound? Um, yeah. So I posted that, and you guys can check that out. Well, what else is going on? Not a whole lot. Things are slowing down interestingly enough, as we go into the Christmas holidays. Good volumes, just not as crisp as usual. Oh, okay. Hold on. I can take care of that. Let's try this one instead. I have alternatives here. How does that sound, guys? Hope that's a little bit more legible. I don't mind cooking for Thanksgiving, but it's a lot of work, especially when you're doing the whole thing by yourself. And since I'm the only guy around here I know who knows how to make an American style Thanksgiving dinner, guess what? Curses to my mom for teaching me how to cook. But it's fun if you take it at one step at a time. And I'm actually going to do a rare thing for me. I'm going to call tomorrow a holiday for myself, as well as probably Friday as well, just so I can recoup because I still have the other half of the cooking to do tomorrow. I've got to do all the baking. So I'll be baking pretty much for all day tomorrow. So you'll know what I'll be doing. Maybe I'll stream my baking. You guys can check that out as well. Um, you know, had two thoughts. When I sit down to come up with the scripts for these live streams, as I pointed out before, I always kind of go off of what is comes to the front of my mind foremost. A lot of that stuff comes about from me taking the time to watch other YouTube music related videos. And one thing that I have noticed as of late is the fact that there are a great deal of YouTubers out there who are musicians who are coming out basically saying, that's it, I'm done. We finished. No more. And that's a funny thing to me because that energy starts to snowball. And as a result of that, I'm seeing more and more and more musicians saying, well, for different reasons, AI thing, uh, not being able to make any money kind of thing, um, you know, tougher to break things, to break into things these days. And I'm seeing a lot of that. Now, again, like I said, if you take my usual metaphor of YouTube being a high school cafeteria, and each type of channel, whether your golf channel, your music channel, like musicians channel like ourselves, or heck, the Pokemon card channel, each have their own table. And at our particular table, I'm beginning to notice the rumblings of things are quite amiss in terms of making it in the music industry. Well, this is nothing new. We've been hearing murmurs of this, or true hard evidence of clubs closing down in some places, being stable in others. Here in Europe, I'm fortunate to live in a very band-friendly town, but there are certainly band-friendly, non-band-friendly places. It seems like the UK went through a phase of that. And that really makes a difference too. But overall, it's starting to depress. And so also I was thinking, well, the sheer amount of output that is required these days of a musician. I was talking about this in the last live stream about the beat makers all saying, "Hey, we gotta put out a track a day," and that oversaturation actually ended up killing the beat market because trust me, the quality of all that stuff was not kosher all 100% all the way through. So the music industry's constant output trap is kind of what I'm labeling that. And the issues regarding AI, like again, you know, if you had told me a year ago that there would be a plugin that I could use in order to make myself sound like a studio female singer, I would have said the same thing I'm saying now, why? Or is it Japanese say nande, you know, wakane. But in any case, it's the truth of the matter. And I just am blown away by what I call the speed of information. The speed of information. And how this speed of information has actually really destroyed artist development, in my opinion. It's another nail in the coffin for artist development. So there is that. Catch up here in the chat. Scott says, good volume, just not as crisp. We read that. Dancing to the algorithm. Mike Holmes says, hey, Mike, how you doing? Mike, can you explain jive? Is jive a genre or a scene? Well, jive dates back to the 1920s to a particular style of music that came out of New Orleans. And then you fast forward to the 1940s, where you have it even getting into big bands like, what was that? Benny Goodman's Jumpin' and Jivin', and, playing along those. And so it's not so much of a genre as it is a mentality, I guess, a scene, I guess, but expressed through a musical style, usually dance. Um, and then jive became, a slang for the way that, African Americans spoke at a certain time. If you watch the movie Airplane, where everybody's sick and they go up to June Cleaver and say, "Can you speak jive?" Because they need her to speak to the two sick black guys on the plane. And she says, I speak jive. So it's had a lot of meanings over the years. Hey, Mike. Hey, how you doing, Cat's Music Journey? Glad to have you here. Matty Two Hats here as well. Welcome, welcome, gentlemen. Welcome to you all. Lowell, that was a great scene. Yeah, it just existed for, as you can see, for damn well a century now. So it's been a hell of a scene. And even the Bee Gees with their song "Jive Talking," kind of is an homage to that kind of thing. So it's prevalent through the music industry and through American culture. Wow, I know a lot more about that subject than any man really should. Excuse me, guys. I got my usual cat hair in my eye. Um, but those two thoughts, the music industry's constant output trap, it was the first thought that I had. Kind of explored that a little bit, like I said in the last live stream, and how the speed of information has changed artist development. And these are structural shifts that we're seeing in the music industry. And you know, they are the opposite of the structural systems that were places I've mentioned before when I was growing up in the studio system, music studio system. Whereas a lot of artists were coddled and they were given time. Hey, you need to come out with an album. Okay, it's going to take you 3 months, 6 months, whatever to come out. Hell, as I pointed out, D'Angelo's Voodoo album took 5 years. It wasn't a need or part of the program, so to speak, to have this constant source of output. As a matter of fact, I will remind you guys that Warner Brothers, I use him as an example because he's a great example. I am not ashamed to constantly talk about him. The Prince was criticized by Warner Records because he wanted to basically come out with an album every 6 months or less, or less. And they said, no, this is too, it's oversaturation. Okay, so you guys and a lot of those guys who were around then, for whatever reasons, are still around today, Mo Austin. If you said it was oversaturation back when Prince was doing it, how come you don't have that same philosophy now? Because the structure changed. Prince would have thrived, actually, ironically, in this kind of environment. But even he would have protested against it because the second reason, the speed of information, he saw as a dangerous thing, and that's just the truth of it. So that's funny to me. Back you were criticized for coming out with too much music too fast, coming out with too much music too fast. Now you're not fast enough. Where's your album this week? We didn't get last week's album. you know, and they are structural shifts in music, and they're designed to keep musicians always grinding, always online, always producing, but very, very, very rarely succeeding. You And it's kind of obvious. And I said that I would talk about some of the other reasons why I myself am bowing gracefully out of recording and performing. Um, but it would be a part of that tonight's discussion because I've come to this conclusion, and it's just my thoughts on it. So I thought I would share that with you guys tonight. Somebody's getting deleted there. Please don't ban me. Okay, 134. We won't ban you as long as you're nice. You can stick around. Um, Now there's a new rule in the industry, And these are always unspoken rules, but they are rules that are there nonetheless, unspoken. If you don't produce constantly, you'll disappear. You know, it seems that the top tier artists are put forward as examples of this. Beyonce seems to come out with a different album with a different theme and a different concept every 6 months. I never listened to any of it. It has been 20 years since there's been a Beyonce song, maybe 25 years since there's been a Beyonce song that I listened to or thought was any good. But her output and Taylor Swift and others are not to the same level that it would have been 20 years ago. Much faster now, much faster output, much faster grind and turnaround. And it isn't a creative standard. It's really an algorithm based standard. Again, it's based upon trying to feed the algorithm. The algorithm demands something new or it gets bored. And that's kind of the truth of it. Prince's Batman 1989 soundtrack was awesome. Awesome, man. I burnt that. That is one Prince album because I was disappointed with the previous album, Love Sexy. I thought it was okay. And upon listening to it now, certainly it's a great, it's a good album. But when I heard the Black album and then Prince's '89 Batman soundtrack, I was blown away, particularly by '89's Batman album, Electric Chair being one of my favorite songs. I play that riff on my guitar. I'll sometimes warm up to playing Electric Chair because I really love that song. Hello from Istanbul. Hello back to you in Istanbul. Hello from Amsterdam. Welcome, welcome. Not too far away. Not too far away. I will make it there someday in the near future. Manchow was putting out an album every month for like 2 years. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so it's this kind of algorithm standard that has become the new norm, and that doesn't shouldn't seem like such an odd thing because we've moved into this digital algorithm based age. Musicians are expected to release more music than ever. Music platforms reward quantity, not quality. If it happens to be quality, well, that's just an extra cookie on the plate, so to speak. But social platforms demand this content, this new content every day. And where does it get you? I sometimes say to myself, because I like watching the Quartering YouTube channel. And here's a guy who puts out stuff not just once, but sometimes twice a day, every day. And he's saying that he's seeing his YouTube revenue fall. He's doing the same, and he said even I, started to do the shorts and the clips and the things that they asked for, but it just didn't make a difference. And so you're again just another example of the grind that is created in order for you just to kind of tread water. And as a result of this constant scrolling and this constant, new information coming up all the time, attention spans scientifically are proven to be getting shorter. You can read a scientific paper, quite a few that have shown, recent ones, that can show you quite eloquently, far more than I can, that the attention spans of people are going down, and it is directly tied into the use of smartphones and tablets. And when you have people who have such, and generations growing up now, having such a short attention span, then how are they going to sit through a whole album? You know, If they get bored with the first few bars of one song, they'll scroll on to the next one. Next, there used to be an era where there were albums, and we talked about this last time. The anticipation of that album and the development that it took in order to market that album, and that slow build up to its release. And that's why you had long lines of people standing outside Tower Records up there on Sunset whenever a major new release came out. I lived up there in Hollywood, and I drove by that Tower Records every day or walked by it, depending upon where I was going, every day when I lived up there in West Hollywood. And so, I used to see those lines, in the late 80s and 90s. And that was a result of the anticipation, development, and again, that slow buildup that they used to do. Now it's singles, you know, everything's a single. And then maybe if you get enough singles, you can pile those together and put out an album or a mixtape or whatever. Little snippets of songs too, not even full songs. Just maybe whatever, 60 seconds, 30 seconds, 15 seconds clips, again shortening that attention span down. Dude, man, don't you see this clearly? Again, I talk about getting funneled into things, and this is a clear example that you should be able to see of getting funneled into shorter and shorter and shorter mediums of entertainment, of information, to further shorten and shorten people's concentration and attention span. Post, you know, I go on, you know, and of course, comments and reels and all those things. And when I was growing up, one of the perks, well, not one of the perks, but one of the things that you were paying for when you got into your record deal, and trust me, you were paying for it, they said, hey, we're going to loan you $500,000, but we're going to charge you for every bit of work that we do for you out of that, $500,000. So was it really a loan? And you're going to pay us back that 500,000, even though we're going to use it to to pay you so that you can make us more money that you're paying us. You see how convoluted that was? But what they did do for you is they did the promotion, you know, they did setting up, calling them a video director. They got the makeup. They got the stage manager for you. They got you in touch with the right equipment rental companies. They did the marketing for you. They had their A&R departments who had people whose job was just to do audience building for a particular audience, for a particular artist. Now you are expected to do all of that, and you're making less even if you're signed. They were charging artists for a while there for damages, you media damages, which basically in the old days a breakage is what we used to call it. Certain amount of albums would get shipped in a box, and maybe one or two of them got cracked or broken, and you'd write that off as damage, but it'd be charged to the artist. They were charging artists breakage in the digital age when there was no physical mediums at all to break. That was still in the contracts. Which, you know, again, so you're doing your all that work that they used to do for you, plus they're tricking you on the back end as well. That's deep, man. you know. And the worst thing about it is if you it builds up the psychology in musicians these days that I've noticed, and thus why there's that proliferation. Excuse me, guys, it's late and I forgot my drink again. Of YouTube videos about musicians saying, this is the end, my friend. Musicians feel like they're failing if they rest. Got to keep on that treadmill. Got to keep it going, and that's what the algorithm says to you. Jenkins, how you doing? Welcome to the live stream. How you doing? Mike, what's your thoughts on Flea's bass playing? I've got nothing to say about it. He is a very dynamic and very knowledgeable. He's studied all the black African American bass players that you can think of. You can hear it in his slapping, and I'm not fond of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, especially Anthony Kiedis, because they make those Laurel Canyon guys look like saints. But from a musical standpoint, yeah, Flea is a fantastic bass player. He's phenomenal, actually, quite phenomenal as an actor, but as a bass player. So there's that. So you got to do the job of the record company now. You know, especially as an independent. You had to do it as an independent artist anyway, but but now you've tacked on you've got to be a videographer, an editor, on top of all the other things, script writer, on top of all the other, gaff and lighting, audio engineer. You got to do all the other things that you didn't have to do before, and you're getting paid less. And you're being told that if you don't produce and put something out all the time, you're au fait, you're finished, you're dust, you're gone. So keep the grind going, kid, or you're going to fall behind and you're failing. And that's the sentiment that seems to be prevalent. This is dangerous because, as I said, it has turned creativity into a production line. It's one thing when you're a guy like Prince or um, gosh, let me think of another example. 9 Inch Nails, for example. You know, when you got one guy who's able to produce a constant stream of music because they're just that creative. That's one thing because that really is true artistic flow. But when you're forcing a guy who likes to take his time to produce music, hey D'Angelo, we know you did Voodoo in 5 years, but tell you what, we actually need you to do that in 5 days. And then you begin to understand that it's not creativity; it's a production line because you cannot make that kind of album in 5 days. And yet now, these days, you're told not only should you be able to, but you must be able to. And it's just not really quite working out, is it? And music became a grind instead of an art form. And the industry says stay consistent. They don't. They don't. They said we don't have anything to do with this MP3 crap, and then they got into it. We don't want to have anything to do with this download crap, and then they got into it. We don't want to have anything that is destroying our industry. We don't have anything to do with this AI crap. And then last week they signed a deal with an AI company. They don't stay consistent. Their word means nothing. They tell you to stay visible. Well, they don't stay visible because who are they? Who is this they? Stay relevant. What is relevant? you know and they don't and they haven't stayed relevant because a lot of cats are, even they're getting walked over by Spotify, the classic, traditional record company labels. So they're not relevant. The relevancy is declining. And yet these are the marching orders that they give to you. Yet they on their end haven't done any of it at all. So, you know, they never did. They never did tell you to stay healthy. Although it would be to their benefit in the long term if they did. If I've got to be, 95 on stage, playing my greatest hits from 50 years ago, so be it. But at least you kept me healthy. They never tell you to stay inspired. Inspiration is for the laissez-faire, not for your class. And they ask you to stay human at the same time, but use this AI plugin, make you sound like a chick. Contradictory all the way down the list. Always have been, always will be. Always have been, always will be. And so, of course, this frustration, and then we're not stupid. We're like, hey, wait a minute, and that's the frustration. And that's all the YouTube videos of what the hell is going on. Mike says, but will there ever be albums like Sticky Fingers by the Stones? Yeah. Or Can't Buy a Thrill by Steely Dan? Yeah. In these times, crooked streaming services like Spotify are killing music. I told you, man, that, it blows my mind. Blows my mind that the owner and president and founder cashed his chips out and used all of that money that he got, those ill-gotten gains that he got off the backs of cats like me who were stupid enough to, post stuff up on Spotify, you know, for chump change. And now he's into developing weapons. He's in the weapons industry. So he took that, it's evil in a way, guys. It's actually honestly evil. He's always so uncontrollable, but I appreciate the effort. Yeah, you know, I agree with that. Hey, Mike, how you doing? Welcome. Bombify, yeah, And any musician from the top down who goes forth spewing "Give peace a chance" and "Let's hold hands and sing Kumbaya" should have gotten up on their platform and said, "What is this shit?" But not a peep, not a word. Not an investigation by any Congress, by anybody, anywhere. The fix is in, obviously. You know, exhaustion, exhausting people, musicians, and burning them out and burning through them is profitable, of course, called human labor. You buy more gear, more software, more courses, more promotions, more tools in order to stay ahead in this rat race. And you're never really, again, like I said, you're not getting ahead, you're treading water. And in some cases, some people are just flat out drowning. And it's this exhaustion in this new system that fuels the business. It was always exhausting before, but it didn't feel that way. It didn't feel like a grind. I never, when I was in the studio back in the 90s, whenever I was cutting a demo or mixing an album, a single for an album that was to go out, producing something, I was in sheer bliss. That was the room I wanted to be in. I worked so hard to get there. Got some good breaks too. Let's just be honest about it. Be able to sit in those rooms, and I was happy. Didn't feel like a grind, even though I was, working hard, sleeping six, or less hours, but working at 18-hour days. But it was fun. Now, I could see how that would feel like a grind, and you're doing it at home in most of these cases in your own house. Think of the psychology of that. It's not, well, I'm done here, guys. I'm going to go home and chill. No, you are in your home. Where are you going to go? Hey to yourself, Cucini. Cutuccini. Cutuccini. Cotuccini? Cotuccini? Welcome. How you doing? Um, burnout becomes a standard condition of being a musician, and I think a lot of guys and gals are getting burned out. I think that the low pay for touring burnout is bad because you just yeah, like I said, you gotta have decent equipment. That's not cheap. You gotta have a car, transportation, planes, trains, or automobiles to get to those gigs. And when you get to those gigs, they're paying 50 bucks plus, the first pint of beer is free on the house. And that's it. And so there is that. Um, hey, where are you from? Well, I'll tell you where I am right now. I'm in Amsterdam in the Netherlands, and it is good to be here. Today was not so bad. Actually, the weather was decent today. I had to go out and do all my running around and shopping. I still haven't got the marshmallows for the sweet potatoes. Still haven't gotten the marshmallows. And I don't want to go. But I will be hunting for marshmallows tomorrow in Amsterdam. So that's where I'm at. You know, music really used to move slowly, guys. There used to be time to make careers. They gave you two albums. Just like now, if you get sign a deal with Netflix, they'll give you two seasons. They'll give you one and then the option for the second. They usually fulfill that option for the second one because they give you a chance to develop it. They see even there's a hope that it's developing into something. Of course, they'll do that. And they used to do that in the music industry. You came out your first album, maybe it wasn't a big hit, you know, but they say, hey, we're going to give you a second album. We're going to give you another chance to do. We're going to make these changes. We're going to do that, and that took time. Whereas today, it's like, oh, your single didn't work out. See you, kid. Next. you know, Development used to mean improving. It used to mean growing. It used to mean experimenting. It's like Frank Zappa said. Those early music exec guys were a bunch of just, cigar chumping old guys. They were like, hey, we don't know if it works or not. Here's the money, go to the studio, record it. We'll see if it works or not. They were more experimental and more willing to let things slide and fly and try things. And then Frank Zappa said, of course, then the suits came in, and then they had to do, you know, basically the opposite of that, where they were controlling on every aspect, and they were anti-experimenting. Matter of fact, that's again problem with Hollywood right now. They're so afraid to experiment. They keep on coming out with these remakes, like The Running Man recently. I understand that that's hot garbage. I remember the original Running Man movie. And to be frank with you, boys and girls, I know you weren't there at the time. Well, some of you guys were, but it wasn't that great of a movie in the first place. It's not one of Arnold Schwarzenegger's, well known like Terminator. It's not, not at all, because it wasn't that good of a movie. It had issues, but again, no experimentation in Hollywood or in the music industry, and it they sort of gave you a little bit of a cushion with their artists. They coddled their artists and they gave you time. Hell, they let Back in Black was recorded in Jamaica, you know. So, I'm sorry, in Barbados or Jamaica, one anyway. Anyway, Back in Black, the album was recorded on an island, and that's you know w- what record labels are saying. Yeah, sure, we'll fly you down to Jamaica so you can record your album, no problem. That's not really happening, you know. Artists get judged immediately. So you got to be a pro, sing, dance perfectly, great stage presence, all those things from the first downbeat. And I don't know of anybody who's been able to do that. Every band they developed and worked over their time into what they were. When Smile became Queen, there was a development there that occurred. And even when it became Queen and Freddie got in, there was a development from there. But no, these days you're judged immediately. You're compared instantly. You're criticized instantly because of the comments. And you're forgotten instantly as well. Used to be, the one hit wonder could go out and tour on that one hit for years. The strength and the passion and the dedication of any kind of real audience behind that is just as vapid as smoke. You know. My old roommate was the mandolin and violinist for the Young Dubliners, a great musician, but pushing 70, he was telling me he was especially burned out on the touring grind. Yeah, yeah. Back in the day, bands worked for the chance to get on the radio. Now they have to make it big just to pay off their debt. Even worse, there's no guarantee, even if you get a record deal, that you're going to go on the radio. And but that's kind of always been around. They shelved a lot of people, but you just don't know. The Running Man novel was good, but pretty gory. I agree, Benny. The novel was different. It's just like the novel for the $6 Million Man. If I read the novel, because back in the '70s that was a big thing. It was very gory too. It says in the book version, Steve Austin, you know, got his legs severed and his arm. They didn't really get into the. Well, I guess they showed. I guess they did, but the way it got severed, he was basically just like art. What do you call that guy with no arms and no legs hanging on the wall? Call him art. No, that's correct, Benny. It was. I read that as well. Read that in like junior high school. Yeah, definitely junior high school. You have a great deep voice. What are you doing for a living? Are you a singer? Yeah, man. I have sung a tune or three in my life. Certainly. This is just the voices, basically just the way I was built. The Black Knight. Yeah. So, you know, an artist can go viral in 15 seconds, but they can be equally as irrelevant in 30. Churn through is just, there's no longevity. There's no longevity uh, in this industry, really. There's no time for an artist to evolve. You know, Madonna, she was constantly evolving. Even in their top 1%, they allowed there to be an evolution, so they gave the artist time. These days, those artists don't really have that same amount of time. What used to be a year between projects has become months between projects. Experimentation, as I pointed out, is out the door. Um, any kind of true discovery, all they're doing is saying, "Hey, algorithm, who's doing best today? Oh, Taco Slim. Okay, get Taco Slim in here. Let's give him a record deal." You know, rinse and repeat. And there's no maturing of an artist where you see that they go from being this kind of artist and then they just really mature into that solid, real recording artist. And therefore, there's no learning, on anybody's station in that this new hierarchy. There's no, it doesn't encourage you to learn except for the newest piece of software to achieve a faster grind. You Now, the famous producers Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis used to say that if you didn't catch their attention in the first 15 seconds of the song, they turn it off and move on to the next one. They were of the belief that you got to catch the attention in that first 15 seconds somehow. Um, Now these songs don't play for more than 15 seconds because they're just short little clips, and usually just hooks, and basically hook placement, you know, and therefore you really get judged on the retention rate that the algorithm feels that it's getting on that particular piece of music. No emotion in this stuff. There's no creativity. There's no real message. Yeah, I'll take even the trying to brainwash you messages because if these are they or the modern day equivalent of it, I'm insulted. I personally insulted. They think I'm so stupid, and so should you. And there's no story either because these people aren't telling any story, especially in rap. Rap used to tell stories. 6 in the morning, police at my door, fresh Adidas squeaking across my bathroom floor. That's setting up and telling you a story, what Ice T was doing there. These days, you know, all you ladies pop your pussy like this, shake your body, don't stop, don't miss. It's just, it's like, what is that? It's moved down to nursery line level, and so there's no story there that's compelling, or the stories that are being told are just the same old regurgitated crap. And it doesn't surprise me that they're citing AI bands because you're making music for data. You're not making music for humans anymore. You're not trying to please humans because they're not buying it anyway. And you wouldn't know who your true fan was because they were signed up to Spotify, even though they really like your music. It's plus 50,000 other people. So Spotify is not going to say, well, this person seems to like this person more. uh you know it just doesn't work that way. They do to a certain extent. They'll send other artists because they say, well, you like this kind of music, this genre, so let's send you more of something like that. They'll do that. That just helps them. But they're not making music for humans. They're making it for algorithms, for data. And it shows. That's why an AI artist, again, doesn't surprise me because it's, a data based musician for a database system. 4250 says, "What are you going to listen to for Thanksgiving?" That's a very interesting. One of my guests, Japanese, so that's the other reason they've never tasted American Thanksgiving cooking. I said, "Well, what music do you play for Thanksgiving?" You In my household growing up, it was jazz music, um, and that's the truth. Jazz music was the music my dad put on for Thanksgiving dinner. Christmas was Christmas songs, but Thanksgiving was jazz and mellow jazz, like like Bill Evans, nice, laid back, stuff. And probably that's not probably that's a tradition that I've carried on to myself. So yeah, I'll probably be playing jazz tomorrow. Good question. I like that question. Support my by checking out his music on Bandcamp. Thank you, Scott. Yeah. So it's back there. Somebody was asking a question about what do I do. Please take the time to hit that link that Scott was so kind to put up, and you can listen to me sing. You can hear my voice in action. Um, so again, burnout doesn't damage just your career now. It damages your identity, you know, and you're falling behind, which means you're not good enough, which means, you're not because you're not doing enough, because you're falling behind, because you're not good enough, because you're not doing enough. All these systems, and I'm pointing this out just to show you that, to my mind, and if I and until I see it differently, I'm not interested at all these days, is to keep you on this, this treadmill. It's not true. It's an artificial environment. Don't let the algorithm dictate who you are or what you should do. Be you, and people will still come. Not because the algorithm, told them to, but because you're putting something forward that people like, and it will catch on. It's a slow burn, but don't believe that it's a real environment, because it's not. It's artificial. It's just like the Matrix. Dig that, man. The pace is artificial because it's algorithm based. It's not human based. And a real creative cat is not going to be putting out a beat a day. Even the most experienced ones, the ones who could do that, wouldn't do that. They didn't. Pace is artificial, the expectations are artificial, the exhaustion, therefore, is not your fault. It's not your fault. Burnout that everybody's talking about for AI, is it AI? Is it this, that, or another? No, it's just because of this system, this treadmill that they put you on, that slowly crept over the last decade into the system that we're seeing. Yeah, my friends make fun of me because I play jazz guitar. They say anybody can play jazz. I should play heavy metal. Well, you be you, man. If you like playing jazz, play jazz. Then your friends, everybody's got, my friends are, your friends are always going to tell you things, but I will tell you the best advice that I can give you regarding your friends. People are going to teach you two things: what to do and what not to do. And it's up to you to make a discernment between, which one you're going to follow. Some people in their lives, they have to follow those not to do guys, and they usually end up with the consequences of such action. Some people take the time to follow the guys that, do what you should be doing, the right things, doing the right thing, as Spike Lee said. And that's the direction you want to go into. So the cats who are putting you down, those are the not to do people. The person says, "Oh man, just be you." That's the way to go. Nah, Sankey, okay, says, "Hey, Sankey, okay, how you doing? Welcome to the chat. Welcome." Says, "Nah, fam, you got to fake it till you make it in this business." Yeah, man, I was, in the 1980s and, early 80s, that was what they were telling us. Man, fake it till you make it. And there's no faking things these days, because when everything is fake, then you're faking the fakers. Who fakes the fakers? I'm a big fan of Benny Goldson. I think Benny Goodman, I think you mean? Or is there a Benny Goldson? Because we were talking about big band music. Maybe we sipped. Look, guys, I've been cooking all day, so I'm tired. Benny Goldson. That I have to check that out. Let me mark that so I can look that up. If that's an artist. Um, you know, you should play Obama in a movie. Let's see. If I had to play Obama in a movie, what role would that would be? Um, because I don't like any role where I'd have to jump into a volcano, so that's not gonna like Joe versus the volcano. I'm a big fan of Benny Larson. That's a good one. Me too. I remember in the 1980s, everybody and their brother had a band. Most did not make it. Yeah. And they were all trying to fake it till they made it. The people who made it are fakes. Okay. Start from there. Understand again. Go back and listen to my live stream talking about the Laurel Canyon scene and how that was artificially created, and how the people involved in that were all quite contrary to their public personas. Their private personas were the opposite. Speaking of someone who plays heavy metal, don't listen to your friends, do what's right for you. There you go. Benny's got you covered there, man. By the way, I used to hear the exact opposite. Yeah. Benny Golson had a jazz quartet, lots of albums. Okay, I'm going to check that out. You know, yeah, particularly tomorrow, because it's going to be a jazz day tomorrow. Smooth, not Kenny G. Okay, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like think of the Charlie Brown Christmas album from back in '64. That kind of vibe, nice and mellow, on the one, and it's just interesting to me. It's just interesting to me. You know, if you really start to think about it, all the different traps that they're setting up and all the different things that they've done, and they have far worse to do. Uploading, posting, releasing, running, chasing, all the same thing. It's all leading to burnout. Slow yourself down on purpose. I did it. It's, what's the use of me putting out the regular content videos? First of all, I don't enjoy doing them. Second of all, they don't move the needle for me. Third of all, I enjoy the live thing. I thrive live. Some people freeze up when they get in front of a camera and they like, film themselves and then edit themselves. And, I like a live audience. I've always liked live. I've played music in front of live audiences all my life. So I'm comfortable here. So this is the way that I decided to run my channel, doing these live streams. I might actually increase the amount of live streams that I do coming up. But that's only out of I have a lot of, stuff to talk about. And it's something that I enjoy doing. But, you know, I've slowed down, my regular content, and I started thinking more long term. And as I put out in one of my shorts, stop measuring yourself against the algorithm. Your value is not is your value, nor should you allow yourself to be valued by the amount of views, clicks, followers, or whatever numbers that they're putting on you. If you want to see Van Halen in '74, you go to a small club in Santa Monica up on 3rd Street and go to the bar, order a beer, sit there, and that was Van Halen playing up on stage. And half the people in the audience weren't paying attention. And then their poster went up on Sunset, and all of a sudden, you couldn't get a ticket. You know, was their value any different before or after the Sunset poster in the record deal? I think not. So why should you feel that your value is no good? You know, right? Your value is your work, and that's about it. You know, so tonight's takeaway is really simple, guys. The problem is not the musicians. The problem is the system, and we're living inside a business model that thrives on burnout. And the challenge really is to resist this industry. You're hearing how a lot of people are cashing out on Spotify. They're canceling their subscriptions for various reasons, but they are canceling their subscriptions, and a lot of artists are pulling their music off these platforms. They're resisting. Now the Borg will tell you that resistance is futile, futile, as Picard would put it, but that's not true. You know, ultimately, you know, their little cube got blown to shit because people resisted. And we can blow that Spotify cube to shit as well. Phasers on maximum, but we have to resist. Boy, that was a real nerdy paragraph that I just said there. By the way, do you remember there was a guitar player named Vinnie Vincent? Yeah, I think I remember Vinnie Vincent. Yeah. For about 2 years, Paul and Gene said he was great and he sounded like a robot. Well, they needed to replace, Stanley, and I mean, they need to replace, oh God, he just passed away. Sorry, guys, it's late. But, and they had to hype him up. And so now that's not to say that Vinny, by the way, Vinnie Vincent wasn't even counted to go into the Rock Hall of Fame along with the original members. But I don't know. I never found Vinnie Vincent to be particularly bad. But they had to talk him up. Freely, thank you, Ace. Yeah, they had to do something to wipe the taste of Ace, so to speak, out of the public's mouth. AI algorithms believe that they are correct. They should have a control mechanism that makes the algorithm value the exact opposite of what it thinks we want. Yeah, you know, it is obvious that, again, you are being led down this pathway that is no bueno. And therefore, and people are starting to realize that. They're starting to feel it in their gut. So resistance is the best pathway at this point. It's actually you had two choices, right? So there's that. Don't do that. Don't burn out. Don't feel you're getting behind. Oh, I used to feel that way. Oh my God, it's Friday and I haven't put any clips out this week. I got to shoot something. What do I got? Okay. Let me talk about picks. Let me tell you about the 5 best picks you can buy, and you'll see those YouTube videos. Or let me tell you about the top 10 pedals that have to be on your board, and it just gets regurgitated over and over in different ways. And that's our and how okay, somebody or 20, 30 people have already covered the pick thing. I don't think we need to, I don't think the pick has evolved that much over time that we need to be spending hours and hours pontificating upon it. And I but that. And so they put that stuff out. And I started to think, what am I doing this for? Unless I have something that I think needs to be said, that's of significance, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to put something out because I've got to, because the algorithm is saying you haven't put something out this week. I do the live streams twice a week because I have two live streams worth of material a week in me, you know, maybe a little bit more. But I'm not going to do or talk about any subject that does not interest me either. I'm not going to play that game. Do you wear 100% cotton zip hoodies with a hood? Daniel asked me. That is an odd question, Daniel, but I will answer that. No, I do not. I am not a hoodie type of guy. This never was. I consider it actually not to be my thing. 4250 says, I wish the police would have made other albums out when they did the reunion. I don't use a pick. I use my thumb. Yeah, I use my thumbs too. I learned how to play with both. Um, you kind of have to, but for what I was doing. But the Police album, yeah, those guys got financial. They're fighting over money. They're millionaires fighting over millions. They don't have time for music anymore. They're doing their litigious scene. Show me one if you have one. Pretty please, man. That's getting. Now we moving in. Daniel, man. Yo, man. You coming on the live stream wanting to see my hoodie? You know, that's a little intimate, don't you think? I'll show you my drawers, but my hoodie, no way. Now I don't own anything like that. I legitimately don't own any kind of hoodies. So all the pretty pleases, it'll cost extra. Yeah, yeah, man, you're going to tip hard for that, and then I'm going to have to go out and buy one because I don't own one. Have a look. I don't have to look. I'll tell you something. I grew up in a time where I came out of my house. I remember this day exactly. Came out of my house. I was 17. I was on my way to go to a job interview. And my father and his best friend, Mr. West, were standing outside. And these were very, very successful men and well dressed men. And I came out wearing, whatever I was wearing that day. And it wasn't my father who said it. It was Mr. West who said it. He said, "Where are you going, Mike?" I said, "I'm going to a job interview." He said, "You're going dressed like that?" And I turned around and went back in the house and I changed. And, guys like that, men like that that I grew up around were not hoodie, 100% cotton hoodie kind of guys. They just weren't. I putting down the 100% cotton hoodie kind of guys. Some great. One of my a good guy I see every morning in the park with his dog. I say, "What's up, brother? How you doing?" He definitely every day has the black, 100% cotton hoodie on. Just a style thing that's not interesting to me. And again, that gets back to you know that gets back to being raised a certain way, um, and a viewpoint, or as Star Wars says, from a certain point of view. Adam West, good one, Scott. Oh man, so dig that, guys. You know, understand you have a choice. You can resist. And how you resist is up to you. That really comes down to you as an individual. I highly suggest that you find ways too. You can be creative. You still do music. You still play music. But find ways to do it that does not feed the algorithm. Hey, I appreciate the super chat there, sir. Uh what we got? Akika, I'm sorry, Akika 69. We'll just say 69. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's going to a good cause. Actually, all the money from these live streams on this channel goes to help this friend of mine put her daughter buy books and whatnot for school. So every time YouTube pays out or stuff like this, it's going to help a girl who, single parent. My housekeeper in Singapore, she was very helpful, and so I'm continuing trying to help her out and her daughter out get through college. And she's smart. She actually got a certificate from the university she's attending for her high some score that she got in mathematics. I never had any children. And so I'm not her father, or anything like that, but I feel a certain amount of pride in being able to help contribute to that. So thank you for that. That's exactly where that's going. So that you guys know, Robin was Batman's punk, but it's plain Batgirl, because she was in the mix as well. There was something going on there with the three of them. No problem, brother. Thank you, sir. Where did you say you live? I'm here in Amsterdam. I'm happy to help. Yeah, it means a lot to me to be able to help out with that cause. Because this is where I'll just let you guys know she is a brilliant girl, and if she can get through university in Singapore, I hope that she'll be able to go to graduate school in the states. Not not on this YouTube money she's getting from this, but at least it's helping with the tuition, the books, certainly. So thank you. Um, you know, honestly speaking, guys, don't resist in whatever way you can. Think about it. Think about it. Red, hey Red, how you doing, sir? Good to see you. Can't hang out. I caught you and want to wish you a very happy Thanksgiving. A very happy Thanksgiving to you too, as well, Red. Guys, go on to my post section on this channel. You can take a look at the Thanksgiving turkey that I did tonight. I did it the day before this time. I made the decision. No, 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 no. We're not going to be cooking turkeys and baking all that on the same day. No, no, no. I did it tonight. It looks good too. I put some love. I took three. It took 3 days to do that turkey because you gotta dry brine it. This is a lot of steps, but anyway, it's beautiful. You guys have a happy Thanksgiving, and I will see you in the next live stream coming up on Sunday. Thank you so much, guys. God bless each and every one of you. Happy Thanksgiving to those who if that goes your way. A good rest of the week to the rest of you guys. Take care. Bye bye.